Hello, hello, and welcome to Labour Social, the Labour Social. It's Friday night, it's 9 o'clock. I'm joined tonight by Aid Thompson. How you doing, Aid?
What's up?
Series regular. And also by Mr. Tom Gray from Gomez, who is now Labour's official candidate for Brighton Pavilion down south. How's it going, Tom?
It's going very well, thank you very much.
Yeah?
Lovely to be here. Cheers.
Not any tech problems. Oh, you got a beer. Oh, I should have got a beer. Have you got a beer?
I got a beer.
Aid. Oh my God, I'm feeling... Okay, I'll get a beer in a minute.
How could every week we do Labour Social and
Yeah.
drinking, or I do.
Yeah. No, literally, I was just at the school play. They were doing High School Musical, and I ran through the door to get everything set up, so I just wasn't ready. But I already had this bottle of lemonade here from earlier.
Before we get onto the politics stuff, Tom, sorry, I didn't realise who you like. So when Graham said, "Oh, Graham, this is Tom," sorry, Aid, this is Tom, and then we sort of met each other just before we started going live. I didn't realise that you were in Gomez. So can I just ask a question? And it's a leading question. It may get onto a story, but it may not.
Yeah.
Were you signed to a record label called Hut Records?
Yes, we were signed to a record label called Hut Recordings. Yes.
Would you like to hear a heartbreaking story before we delve into some politics?
I would. I always love a little bit of heartbreak before we get.
Have you got some music?
I don't. It's your show. You could do some background music, or you could just.
What was the thing on Simon Radio 2 show? We used to play the music in the background with the sad stories.
And
It was like Love Story. It was the theme.
Yeah,
from
Love Story.
So,
That's.
yeah.
We need to cue that music right now.
Quick, get the producer on the... Go on, Aid. Tell us your sad story about Hut Records.
So I used to be in a band, and we were called Bleak, and we were this sort of like post-grunge Nirvana wannabe punk rock band, and but we were kind of sort of good. Like some of the songs were good, and anyway, I sent a demo tape off to a load of record labels, thinking this will never go anywhere, and most of the time, like, it didn't. But then one day I get home from school, I think I was at then, and I get this voicemail, this answer phone message on my mum's answer machine from this girl, an A&R lady at Hut, who was like, "Your demo tape landed on our desk, and it's a gem. It's a diamond amongst all of them." And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. We're going to be the next Nirvana." And so then she goes, "Oh, I'd love to meet you. Like, do you want to go for a coffee?" So we go for a coffee, and it's all like building up. I'm thinking this is incredible. We're going to make it. We're going to get signed. So then she says, "Have you got any gigs coming up I could get the actual label guys down to?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do actually." So we had this thing booked at Alley Cat Live in Reading, and I'm telling the rest of the guys in the band, I'm like, "This is it. This is how it starts." And then we go there and we do our set. But there's another band that come on just before us, and they're wearing like bed sheets and like pillowcases over their heads, some sort of gimmick. I don't know what the deal was.
Was it the Ku Klux Klan?
No, sounds dodgy now that I'm saying that. Like, yeah, I don't know what their gimmick was. Was it racism? No. But they had some sort of gimmick where they were wearing like bed sheets and like pillows and stuff, and they were awful, objectively a terrible band. And then we got up and played and did okay. And anyway, 2-3 days later, I phoned this girl and I was like, "Yeah, so like, did they see us? Like, what was the verdict? What was the feedback?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. They came down and they thought you guys."
Oh, no, with the bedsheet guys.
And they looked at these guys with the bedsheet. And they were just like, "No, I don't know what this is." This is not Hut. This is not part. No, why have you brought us here? Like she got in trouble. Can you just tell them that wasn't us? And then she was like, "No, like I think once they've associated your bad name with a terrible, like it'd be really difficult to get them down." I was like, "Oh, great."
That is very sad.
You could have been a contender.
Yeah, we could have gone on tour.
Sorry, Aid. Waiting for John to come online. He's taken a while to connect. Tansky's on the way, apparently. For any Tansky fans out there, Scott's on his way as well. And also, hello. My partner's just arrived, which is good. Do you have beer? No, you haven't got beer.
A beautiful future displaced by a man dressed as a duvet. It's really sad, Aid. It's terrible.
But you know what? I'm actually, in retrospect, I'm quite grateful, because had that not have happened, I might never have ended up at the mediocre, middling heights of IT development, so might never come that.
Sometimes you count your lucky stars. So, right, let's go to Tom. Tom, tell us about your plan to get yourself elected. Not my joke. Someone made that in the chat.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. It wasn't me.
Well, actually, I was going to take the first time, interestingly, the very first time I came to Brighton at all was in 1997 to play a show at what was then called the Pavilion Theatre.
Oh, yes, I remember that, I think.
Yeah, and we just, it's part of the Corn Exchange and Dome. It's like it's the smallest gig in there. It's not been called that for years. But we were playing it, and we'd just been signed to Hut Recordings, you know, who'd obviously just missed out on your band. And
Tom was in the first band and actually got signed, Aid.
Yeah.
That was back when Gomez
we'd just been signed, and unfortunately, another Brighton band had just been dropped by the same label called These Animal Men. Do you remember These Animal Men?
Yeah,
do you remember them?
I remember them.
Yeah,
they were like new wave of the new wave, if you remember that little glitch. So they just stood at the back of our gig giving us evils all the way through it. They just stood there like stock still, trying to intimidate us. We would have been like 19, at least a bit older. But interestingly, the guy who was the keyboard player in These Animal Men is the kid out of Time Bandits.
What?
What?
No way.
Whoa. That's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Whoa.
I know. There you are. And that's why I want to become an MP.
I feel like I just walked in that story at that exact right moment.
Absolutely. So, Tom, you're originally from Southport, aren't you? Up the road from me.
I am,
yes. In the day. Yes. And what brought you down to Brighton? Why did you end up staying there?
That was playing a show with Gomez. I got here and I went, wait a minute. There's an incredible liberal, like creative, arty town.
Yeah. And like, Southport's quite Tory, isn't it?
It's quite Tory, but also quite like, you know, it was quite a violent place to grow up. It was constantly getting it. It was like a seaside town, Tory, a bit, you know, just a bit. It was always very edgy when I was a kid. You know, took quite a lot of kickings for having long hair and stuff. You know, growing up around there.
That's not great.
It wasn't great. So I suppose when I came to Brighton, I was just like, oh, everybody's cool here. Everyone can be themselves. This is an incredible liberal oasis. I will call you home, and that was it really. And I've been here ever since. 20, 25, 26 years. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Graham, can you email me the link so I can jump in?
Yeah. Okay. We can hear you though, Wayne. You can stay like that if you want.
I know, but I'm on my phone. I'm not on my.
This is it. I won it. I said it last week.
Tom's on his phone.
Merch. Labour social t-shirts. Send me the link.
I know a guy who can sort that
out. Scott's arrived. Hello, Scott. How you doing, mate? Yeah. So Tom,
sorry, guys.
We're just chatting with Tom about the fact that he's standing as the Labour candidate for Brighton Pavilion. But you beat Eddie Izzard. You beat Susie Eddie Izzard. Did that? How did that go down?
It was fine. I mean, I've known Susie since. This is a very 90s story for you. I met Susie, then Eddie, in the Lower East Side of New York in 1998. We were at an Asian Dub Foundation gig. Do you remember Asian Dub Foundation?
Love the Asian Dub Foundation.
Yeah,
I worked with him.
Blast of the past.
Yeah.
I used to work with him.
And we were introduced by Brian Molko from Placebo.
This is the story.
It's peak 90s, I think.
That is peak 90s, right? So we've known each other for a very long time, and it was actually really nice. You know, the actual process was really good because we were talking to each other quite a lot, and you know, so it was sad that somebody had to win, but I did. And that was that.
But does Eddie live in Brighton, or has Eddie just been sort of parachuted?
I suspect Eddie lives in about 4 or 5 different places. Has homes in New York and LA, and
Nice.
no, she doesn't really have a direct connection with the place. I suppose that was part of, people's interest in me as a candidate, was that I was very much the local candidate and committed to the city, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. So, is Gomez still together? Are you still gigging? Are you still playing gigs? Not seen you for a while.
No, 2 of the lads are out at the moment. Ben and Ian are out playing around the country, doing stuff. I actually got up on stage with them the other night at the Concord 2 in Brighton and did a song.
Oh, fantastic.
So, but I haven't performed with any regularity in over a decade, really. We did some 20th anniversary shows, which were fun, in Australia and out the Royal Albert Hall and stuff. But
brilliant.
You finally got the beer. I was just seeing something was arriving in your eye.
I'm such a professional. I'm like, yeah, whatever, Tom. Just let me get me a beer. But yeah, I mean, but how long have you been sort of interested in politics? Was it something that was awakened in you, or have you always had this sort of urge to make things better?
I joined the Labour Party. I joined the Labour Party on my 15th birthday.
Oh wow!
And I'm 47, so I've been in the party for whatever that is, 32 years.
Wow,
And in fact, I was very interested in politics, and politics was really where I was going with my life as a young man. I used to go to travel down to London and volunteer at the old Woolworth Road Labour Party HQ. I licked stamps for people like Mo Mowlam, and
Oh, really?
I remember. Yeah. No, so I've been around the party forever. The first time I ever went door knocking was when was it Tower Hamlets? It was somewhere around there. Had the first BNP candidate in the local council.
That was
Derek, somebody.
Dagenham.
Yeah. And I remember one of the first doors I ever door knocked was somebody who was down as a Labour vote and actually had a swastika on his neck.
Ow.
So
yeah.
That
was an interesting conversation. How did that go down? Was it like, so can we rely on your vote? And he's like, no, I'm a Nazi.
It was like, can I rely on your vote, sir? And then his dog barked at me and I ran away. That's kind of how it went. I would have been about 16 or 17 then. So, but it was so I've been around the party forever, and then I started to study politics, and was actually I was actually going off to work for I got an internship working for a senator in the United States just when we got offered our first record contract. So I bizarrely did have a month in my life, age 20, when I was either going to get on a plane to go to DC to work on the Hill there for a bit, or Madonna invited me to get on her private jet because she wanted us to sign to Maverick.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is like some fever dream. So you were having a cup of tea with Eddie Izzard and these animal men, and then Noel Gallagher turned up on a jet plane with Madonna, and my God. An interesting life.
It has been an interesting life, to be fair, and yeah, I didn't get on either of those planes. I left both of those planes behind me. It was a bit silly, and signed to a nice.
Definitely got with Madonna. I mean, what were you thinking? Do you know what I mean?
It was too mad. It was like you're 19 years old, and Madonna says, "Come and get on my private jet," and it's just like, nah, that's just too much. I don't want to do that. It was just, to
me, that is a learn when to say yes.
These days, I would say yes now, obviously. But at the time,
so why wouldn't you when you were younger? That's mental. I was completely the other way around when I was younger.
I think it was because it was just so overwhelming. It was like, basically what had happened was all these labels had got hold of this tape we'd made in our garage. Like we were kind of recording nerds, and we used to make these tapes.
Oh,
an
that's
old
right.
place.
You were in some band or other, weren't you?
I was in a band or other. Yeah,
Some
like, I
band
mean,
or other. Cheers,
Sorry,
Cozy.
I've never heard of you.
Granny Cozy turns up. Hello.
thanks,
Wayne
mate.
disappeared.
So anyway,
He was like, no.
I heard you were in a popular beat combo.
so we
Blimey.
used to record on these tapes, and all these labels try to
I do
sign us like
remember
loads
tapes.
of, yeah, from the tapes, yeah. And so once Madonna got involved, I was like, nah, this is too silly.
Was
now.
that her Maverick record
Why?
label at
It's
the
not
time?
silly. It's good. It's progress. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So there we are. That's
So-
and that's
But
the story
saying
of
no
how
is
I.
not how I ended up touring with the Pogues. So,
The Pogues. Oh,
Munich and Zurich.
great days. Great days. Well, Tom, can I just talk a little bit about the EU and what it's like now? Being in the EU with the fact that we've pulled out of it, and sorry, not being in the EU, I guess. What's it like for bands? What's it like for musicians and established musicians and musicians coming up?
It's been a total calamity, as you can probably imagine. It's almost impossible to tour across Europe in a sort of sensible way without losing lots of money and lots of time and energy being spent on administration, filling out carnets and what have you. So as you move through Europe now, you're effectively importing and exporting everything that you carry with you. So
is that every time you go to a new country as well, or do you do it once and you're in the EU?
I forget how it works across each individual one, but yes, it's mostly on entry. But then, of course, you've got other areas within the EU that you have to cross to have carnets anyway. So if you were ever going from Italy to Germany, you'd always have to go through Switzerland, and that always required a carnet. So then there was another carnet on top of the carnet that you've got, and I don't know. And then there's a much bigger
Austria, but it's still not singing, is it?
And then there's a much bigger problem, which is this problem of vehicles when they leave the UK. If it's a British vehicle, it's only allowed to stop 3 times before it comes back to the UK, which makes it very, very, very difficult to. So what's actually starting to happen is people are renting tour buses in Europe when they go over there rather than driving over there on British buses. So and you start to see what effect that has on the British touring industry as well, because then people are not wanting to take British techs and British crew and British buses with them and pick them up when they're on the continent instead. So you've seen an enormous, obviously the sort of the combination of COVID and Brexit has sort of, so many people have left the industry. It's shocking. And also it's made it way more expensive because it's meant that, obviously wages and what have you within the industry have gone through the roof because there's a shortage of people now. So it's really just not a pretty picture at all, to put it mildly.
God damn. I mean, and is Labour going to be able to do anything about this? I mean, obviously, is this going to be one of your missions when you're elected as an MP? Are you going to be pushing for musicians and other artists to be able to travel around the EU without,
Well, I mean, absolutely. And we have got commitments to do it and commitments to rebuild those relationships so that we and renegotiate the terms of those visas. Because let's be clear, the Tories just didn't negotiate it. They just basically, Priti Patel's Home Office at the time just wanted to stop anyone getting in the UK and didn't care how she went about it. And she brought down the shutters on any other department making any kind of argument for travel. And so it didn't even cross the table in terms of a negotiation. We know it didn't. It was never pursued.
God damn it. That's rather shit. But what's not rather shit is that Supertansky's joined us. Hello, Supertansky! Woo!
I'm never on time. I bet you'd be afraid if I was on time, wouldn't you?
I know. I'd be like, something's wrong.
Besides me and, is it Cozy?
Cozy, yeah.
Bit of a sausage fest near tonight, isn't it?
Our Cozy was on here a minute ago, and she had to take a call.
Oh, okay.
But she'll be back. Don't worry.
If I have to turn my camera off every now and then, it's because I've got 2 kittens that are trying to ruin everything I hold dear in life. And this morning, my morning coffee was sitting on the side, and while I was trying to jump up on the chest of drawers, Edie put her entire back foot into the cup of coffee. It went up the wall. It went over my favourite old books. It went. It was. Why do we have them? Why do we have them?
I've got some super chats to go through. I haven't done any super chats yet. So Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much. Graham, you don't ask some stupid questions. Aid, have you got a beer? Yeah, that was a stupid question. Sorry, I apologise, Johnny. One Angry Pagan says, greetings from the English Riviera even, South Devon, as Hollywood has officially recognised the Pagan Federation would a Labour-controlled Westminster. So, Tom, we'll I don't know why I'm asking you, but if elected, will you recognise the Pagan Federation?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I want that on the front page of the manifesto.
That would be most excellent.
That'll go down well with the Christians, won't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll go down well with the people who consider themselves more British than anyone else, who get very upset when the flag looks a bit different on the back of a football kit. Do you know what I mean? Like because pagan is our ancestry, isn't it?
I, for one, would welcome going out back and dancing around naked in the moonlight once again. It would be really refreshing and liberating.
What do you mean, once again?
Once again?
That's just a normal Saturday night for Ollie down in Yorkshire.
Only on a full moon.
Ollie, did you just reference just strange ways of the north, man? I don't get it.
No, it's not the north. It's
Ollie
Yorkshire.
just referenced Top Load, Dancing in the Moonlight.
Well done,
another old
I thought it was the Wicker Man.
It's a terrible song, and it was a cover version. Anyway, moving swiftly on, I've got another couple of super chats to go through. Puddinator, thank you very much. Question for Tom. How well do you know the other candidates? All 600 of them. Mine is called Amanda Hack, and I'm wondering if you've met her or have any thoughts. Do you know Amanda Hack?
I don't think I've met Amanda Hack. No, I don't think so. Maybe I have. No, I'm googling her frantically to find out if I have.
I thought that might be a play on words, like Amanda Huggins.
We've got one more for Johnny Copperhead. Thank you, Johnny. Southport sounds like Clacton on a good day. We were slagging off Southport before because it's Tory and violent.
No. I loved growing up in Southport. Southport was a beautiful place to grow up, but I have to say it was, in the 80s in Southport, it did get a bit thuggy here and there.
Yeah. And then they got money, and now they all vote Tory and live in mansions.
Oh, no. Southport is about to go Labour for the first time in its history.
Is it?
Yeah. Southport are going Labour, definitely. Yes. They were Liberal. A few years back, they were Liberal.
Yeah, it was usually Lib Dems and Tories
ago.
That kind of had a revolving door there, but
that's going to go Labour like Colchester. It used to be
Liberal.
Tom,
it's the hope that kills you.
An amazing pun where you could have said you had a rhythm and blues alibi.
Very good.
I've already done the pun about Tom getting himself elected, and that wasn't very good. We've got
one. Say it's a sure shot.
It's very good. It's a lad called Patrick Hurley he's from St Helens. He's gonna win in Southport. He's a good lad.
Brilliant. Good stuff.
And
well, so you hope.
Oh no, he's definitely gonna win. We used to have.
Can you please touch some wood when you say stuff like that?
Yes, I'll try. We used to have Ronnie Fern, who was the perennial pantomime dame. He was a Lib Dem who always was the pantomime dame every year in Southport.
That's brilliant. It's a little bit League of Gentlemen, but it's brilliant.
Exactly, isn't it?
Babs Cabs.
He had the worst attendance record in the whole of Westminster, but he was always the pantomime dame.
Wow, it's most impressive. If it wasn't, the people in control of the country.
Yeah.
We've also got Joseph Jones. Thank you very much for the super chat. Will Labour look to raise the threshold to 20k? I don't know what that refers to.
What threshold?
What threshold? I don't know.
Hang on. Think about what's around. No, we can't figure it out, can we? I mean, it could be anything.
The threshold.
The threshold.
Well, the only threshold I can think of is the minimum income requirement. That's higher than 20k. So I don't know.
Oh, is that for having someone from another country actually
Yeah.
be your partner? Which is
Yeah,
currently
yeah, for-
18,600. They're going to put it up to 38,600.
Yep, that's the one. So only 25% of the country are rich enough to fall in love with a stinking foreigner like me.
Ah, you stinky foreigners. How dare you
I know.
put your mum on a different rock?
Cozy, have you had a wash this year?
Once or twice. But can I just
Tom's had enough. He's just walked
Can I
off. Tom's like, fuck this. I'm out
That's
of here.
it. Yeah.
Not
Stop or rather, stop everything you're doing. Can I just have a moment of appreciation for Super Tansky? Hello. We've never actually met before, but I'm a massive fan. I'm like fangirling here.
I am
Wow.
I am now a massive fan of you. So
This is a moment.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah, it's
So,
lovely
are
to meet you.
Are we going to talk a little bit about what's been going on this week in Parliament and in the news? Or
How would we do that? Like, this
can
is
I tell
some-
my whipping Piccadilly story?
If you like.
I'll go on then.
Okay, so there's a song by Gomez called Whipping Piccadilly, which is about playing a gig or
Yeah.
going to a gig in Manchester at the academy where I used to work when I was a student. But before I went to Manchester as a student, I was a schoolboy in Liverpool, and when I was 15 or 16 years old, I went to see Radiohead play at the Apollo with my mate. It was like a Thursday night in school times, and he told his mum and dad that he was just going to the pub, and because he knew they wouldn't let him go all the way to Manchester for a gig. And we got the train to Manchester, and the thing is, the last train back to Liverpool was always like 11 o'clock, and gigs finished at like 10 to 11. So you'd have to leg it from the Apollo or for the Academy, wherever you were at, to the train station to get home in time.
That's not close. They're like kind of far away.
Yeah. It was a run. And usually we're in t-shirts and we were like dripping with sweat from the gig and legged it this night, right?
Sexy.
Thursday night, got to Piccadilly station, right? Got on the train and we were on the way home, we're nattering away, and then suddenly I look out the window and I see it says Bolton, and I'm like, we shouldn't be going through Bolton. What is going on? And that was when we realised we got the last train not to Liverpool but to Blackpool, right? So then we got off at Preston, going, shit, what do we do? This is 1996, so neither of us had like mobile phones or anything because they didn't really exist. No way of contacting our parents. So we decided to start walking down the M62. The M6. Started walking down the M6, right? And we must have walked about 3 miles. And our brilliant plan was that we'll get picked up on the motorway by a police car and they'll take us home because we were only kids. Do you know what I mean? And we did get picked up by the police. Like, you're not allowed to walk along the motorway at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, oh, right, okay, yeah. And it was drizzling and, I had a Radiohead poster under my arm. And they said, look, what we'll do is we'll drop you off at the next service station. And you can try and get a lift from there, like hitchhike. At like 2 o'clock, brilliant police officers, I've got to say, fantastic job they're doing. So they dropped us off. So me and my mate, we're asking like all these different like truck drivers and stuff, can we get a lift to Liverpool? And they're like, we can't because it's insurance and that. And then eventually there were 2 proper scally lads, like proper scally scouse white boys, like something straight out of a Guy Ritchie film. And when I went, "Are you going to Liverpool?" They went, "Yeah, we're going to Old Swan." And I'm like, "Oh, we're just by there. Would you mind dropping us off?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, get in the back." So we're driving along, and they're making like a laugh about the fact there's no radio in this car. Do you know what I mean? They said, "I'll put some tunes on." Where you been? And he was, "Oh, we went to see a gig in Manchester." And he said, "Oh, we'll put some tunes on, but someone's robbed this car. Who'd you go and see?" And he said, "I was Radiohead." And we were talking about it a bit. And he said, "Do you know what we did tonight?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "We robbed this car." And the whole thing was like, we would have put some tunes on, but someone got to the radio before us.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so we got home, and do you know his parents were still up? I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning when we actually got home, and his parents were still up going like, how was the pub, son? And he was grounded for a long time after that. But that's our whipping Piccadilly story. Get on the right train. That would never happen now, because everyone's got a phone. They were good old days.
And you can't nick cars very easily. So
No.
Yeah, you can.
I wouldn't know about it because I'm not a criminal. So
It's not as easy as it used to be. You need a bit of tech now.
well, not that kind of criminal. I'm
You
joking.
can use an old Nokia phone, one of the really old sort of 8123s. You can use one of them and you adapt it and you put something in it and basically you can clone people's
Let's not tell. We should probably not tell people how to do it.
Yeah, but don't. It's naughty.
If you've got a laptop, if you've got a lap, yeah.
What? Wayne? What?
Their Ring doorbell, and you'll see people sweeping out the front with a laptop, trying to code grab, and then they basically reprogram the car.
Yeah.
And then just offload it.
I've seen that.
Not like the good old days with the coat hanger down the side of the window and then
to be fair,
big screwdriver in the keyhole.
The problem is you then have to know how to hotwire the damn thing.
Ford key would open pretty much 50 cars.
Yes, that was another thing. Like all the cars used to work on the same key. I grew up working at my dad's garage. It was like it was painfully easy to steal a car. Not that I ever did, obviously, because I'm not a thief. But
sorry, how do you know all this?
I grew up working at my dad's garage every Saturday when my mates were off to the bloody match or playing footy in the field. I had to work at my dad's shop, get a better carburettor on Muirhead Avenue.
John, you're talking to a scouse.
I didn't want to say
from
this.
Essex,
Oh, piss off!
But like, even as an Essex boy, that's a bit beyond me. That one.
Be careful. I might break out proper Yorkshire. Then we'll be talking, lads.
Oh, watch out! The news will be all over it. It's like the Labour candidate for Brighton has been participating in telling people how to rob cars online.
It'll be all over the Sun tomorrow. The scum. So yeah, but yeah. So what's been going on this week? Is there any news stories that anyone wants to pick up on?
No, it's quiet, isn't it? It's been proper quiet.
Nothing's been happening really. Apart from all that stuff.
I would say the one story that leapt out at me that I was listening to was the private school business, because I knew it would trigger Graham, and I know you was on hold to go on LBC.
Oh, this is on LBC. Yeah, they were talking about private schools. It's just my
Labour.
My little bet noir.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, pop winds me up.
No, as soon as I heard it, I was like, Graham is fucking all over this.
So we just went to the school show and they're selling like coffee and stuff for like £1 or whatever, and a little bag of sweets and stuff like that. It was a great show. The kids really put on a performance and everything. We had to buy tickets for it, and the school's probably going to make like a couple of quid out of that, not much. And I was just thinking, if this was a private school, they could claim gift aid on everything that we're paying for here because they're charities. Whereas it's a state school, they can't. And I am sick and tired of people who went to private school saying, well, if we all went to state schools, it would cost too much. I'm like, no, it wouldn't. We already subsidise you massively, more than we do. And they don't have to pay. It's not just VAT they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay capital gains tax. And like Eton is Eton, Harrow, the big top schools, they're huge landowners. They buy and sell property and pay no capital gains because they're charities. Sorry.
A lovely con.
This is why the 20% VAT thing is such rubbish, because if you have your kids in a private school and you don't want to get saddled with the extra 20% VAT that appears to be incoming from a Labour government, you should just go to the private school and go, you're a charity, right? Let me off. Just give me free education. I'm going to send both my kids to Eton. You're a charity. Very, very giving. Please educate my kids.
Someone in the chat saying about the car theft, 200 plus people told us how to do that. Graham, the police arrest you, just tell them Graham Hughes told us how to do it. I missed some things out. It's like watching Breaking Bad. It's not going to teach you how to make crystal meth. It's really not. I've got a couple of super chats to go through, and then we'll come to maybe Tansky next. Joseph Jones, thank you very much. I meant basic tax, 2.5 to 20k. Okay, so Joseph Jones, the 20k, raising the threshold, that'll be for paying tax. At the moment, it's 12.5. It's 12,500 before you pay tax, and raising that threshold to 20k. I would like to see that. I think that'd be really great. Puninator, given the Tories are having about 3 fires a week in the party. Who in the Labour Party will be replacing all the fire extinguishers post-election? That's very good. Thank you very much to Puninator there. And One Angry Pagan's back. Given how bad the last general election was, hoping this will be easier. Yes, I think we all are. But yeah, so, Tansky, have you got any news stories that you sort of focused in on this week?
Not really. I've had a bit of a quiet one this week, really. I mean, there was like a lot of people were talking about Owen Jones leaving Labour. No one saw that coming. I certainly didn't. I mean,
I thought he'd already left.
Yeah. I know you did.
I was gobsmacked.
Mick Lynch did the grown-up thing and was like, just grow up a bit and vote Labour, which is like, yeah, the best advice you can give. But yeah, I'm just not.
Love Mick Lynch.
I'm personally not a fan of Owen Jones because he's been quite despicable towards me. But I think the whole thing is just terrible, really, and quite disingenuous, and doesn't take into account how first past the post works. And it's just going to split the left vote, and it's like a vanity project, like most of the independent kind of like side parties are. And it's yeah, and they're also getting kind of people to try and fund it during a cost of living crisis, which is particularly despicable. It's like, here, come,
massively.
I've got a vanity project here that's not going to work. It could risk another Tory term. Help me pay for it. It's like, fuck off. No, I'm not. So that's been on my mind a bit this week. But
I'm genuinely worried about Labour not winning this election. I know everyone seems to think it's in the bag, but the Tories, they've got so much money, it's ridiculous. They've upped how much they can spend. They've got every single newspaper proprietor in the country on their side. They've got every billionaire on their side. They're disenfranchising voters left, right and centre, especially with the voter ID laws. You're looking at up to 8 million people might be disenfranchised in this election. 8 million. That's more than enough for them to win.
That was particularly terrible in itself. I mean, wasn't it? And they've already brought in kind of different ways in which to disenfranchise people. I mean, that the ID in itself was proven to cut out millions of people, especially people that are poor and people of colour.
The problem but that was literally grafted straight from the Republican Party in America. They did exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
purely
to all day to vote.
Yeah,
make it as difficult as possible.
Who wants to do that when you've got a fucking job and you've got a graft, all that? It's
putting barriers in the way. It's putting barriers in the way that makes it even harder. And we all know that turnout's hard enough to achieve as it is. So they're adding additional little roadblocks that make it even harder when it's just difficult enough to get people to the polling station anyway. And, but yeah, I'm really worried, like you are, Graham, about the people were saying, oh, we've got it in the bag. We haven't by any stretch got it in the bag.
This was 1992.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
what happened in 1992. Yeah. We were convinced until about 3 months before the election that Labour had it in the bag.
Infamous Sheffield speech.
Yeah, I don't know if that really made a difference though, because a lot of it was a lot say that, and I think it made people did see it and think, oh, they just because they're assuming they've won it, and they were acting a little bit like they'd won already, which the great British public don't like. And but it wasn't just that. I think there was a lot of there was a really good interview with Kinnock. It's on YouTube somewhere where he actually said no, we'd lost it about 3 weeks before we knew he actually said was pretty sure we'd actually lost it. So we cannot sit back and just assume that these 20-point leads are going to stay there, because I would guarantee they're not. Yeah. And which is why we've got to get across tactical voting big time, and we've also get across ID, making sure people have got ID.
Yeah. When I'm trying to, when I meet people who are complacent about it, I always remind them that the last time a working majority of one party was replaced at an election with a working party of a different party was 1970.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's 54 years since that's been achieved. It shows you how hard it is to achieve it. It's virtually impossible. So, ignore the polls.
Yeah. And 1970 as well, just to be a history buffs out there, that was when Labour lost to Edward Heath, the Tories, and Edward Heath was more surprised than anyone. He was convinced he weren't going to win. They actually were convinced they weren't going to win the Tories, and they won it in 1970. So you can't.
What we don't need to do is replicate the old anecdote of the rabbit and hare conundrum. Do you know what I mean? We think we're so far ahead that it's a given, and then next thing you know.
Don't forget, a lot of the pollsters, Wayne, are Tory owned, aren't they? Like, YouGov was Nadine Zahavi helped set up YouGov.
Co-founder of YouGov. Yeah, and
I wouldn't put it past them to be massaging the figures a little bit so people get complacent.
Well,
and then people say, "Oh well, if we all vote for Labour, they'll get too big a majority, and then we won't be able to control them." Like, what are they going to coalition with the Lib Dems? Will have more control over Labour.
Yeah,
what? How'd that go with the Tories?
To your point, I think the pollsters will exacerbate the complacency, because if people think that it's a foregone conclusion, well, there's no point in me going out and voting because we're going to win anyway.
Yeah, I think people are going to protest vote then. I think that will cause a very big problem if people decide, well, if Labour are this far in the polls, if they're going to win the election, like, you saw Owen Jones say, then they go out and protest vote. And then you get people winning like George Galloway.
Yeah, people doing it already. They're already saying that. And I'm like, what the hell are you playing at? And they're trying to talk about engineering a hung parliament. It's like, no, there's too much at stake. Plus, it won't work. And Labour will call another election and win it anyway. So you're just going to have like months of chaos whilst the country's on its knees. It's madness. Madness trying to engineer a hung parliament.
It's incredibly selfish, and it doesn't take into account, like we saw figures out this week about poverty.
Exactly.
How much poverty, absolute poverty and relative poverty have gone through the roof under the Tories. Mental health. The number of people seeking mental health help and not getting it because the waiting list is like 3 bloody years or something for autism or for an ADHD diagnosis. And like all of this, it's like if I hear someone say, "Oh well, I'm not going to vote Labour because X, Y, Z," I just think, "Oh, right, you'll be all right, won't you?"
Yeah, but Graham, why vote for like this 125-year-old? Like force for good and justice and equality and for social progress that that has its roots in the union and the cooperative movements and Quakerism and all of this. Why vote for that when you can vote for Owen Jones's GoFundMe?
In fact, something I want to bring up that Labour have actually done, because people go, "Oh, they're not going to do anything socialist or anything like that." This week we've seen the buses in Greater Manchester under I've forgotten his name now.
Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham.
Those have gone into public
ownership.
Didn't
burn him.
Supertram in Sheffield has now gone into public ownership with partial funding from Barnsley and Doncaster, with the promise to help expand the Supertram network. That has brought that under public ownership. So those are really good things to see. And I keep on bringing these up, and this guy, oh well, I don't know.
Red Tories.
Labour are going to bring all the public transport back under public ownership as they drop out of contract.
And so they should. So like round here, you pay £2 to get a bus from like Basildon to Southend. £2. That's it. Single trip. Right. And I love that. So that's kind of like something that the Tories have brought in, but it's kind of like
temporarily they're ending it. Like that was a temporary measure, the £2 bus journey.
No, they've extended it.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, in certain areas. It's not nationwide or anything. In certain areas,
I don't think it's everywhere.
But like I could nick a bus.
I think it's right for us.
Yeah, I could nick a bus down to Southend for £2, right? Whereas the train would be, I don't know, like
£75 and your liver.
Yeah, exactly.
That's only if you've got the bus route that goes somewhere that you want to go to, and you don't have to change your buses.
Yeah.
Like for me to get to my office, which by car takes me 10 minutes, by bus is 2 buses, £4 and an hour.
Yeah.
Where's my incentive to take public transport?
Yeah, that's because all the pricks
wherever you were born, if you were born with good public transport links, you've won a massive lottery. Where I'm based, I can get to Leeds, I can get to Sheffield in under 45 minutes. That's perfect places for me to do a lot of work. I do a lot
in a horse and buggy. Yeah.
On a chariot.
Just to kind of bring this back to the like complacency of like, oh well, we've got it in the bag already. I just wanted to say something like super quickly. So there is a bit of complacency around that. Like the next general election, the result's pretty much nailed down. It's going to be a Labour government in some capacity, and I'm like, actually, all it would take, if you look at the numbers, and obviously polling doesn't directly equate to the results of what the GE would be, but if you look at the numbers on the Westminster voting intention, if you removed Reform from that, and I think Reform and Conservatives are probably going to end up in a tie, like neck and neck polling, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And when that happens, it's not completely outrageous to think that Reform could end up being the senior negotiating partner in those two. And if they do a deal like they did when they were the Brexit party, and they just go, right, guys, we've got what we wanted, stand down. All of those Reform voters, those protest voters, all of them will suddenly flood back to the Tories. And then, even though Labour might be in the lead, you could easily end up with a situation where it's like a Labour hung parliament, a coalition, a really awkward like another election, like afterwards to try to reset it to get an actual credible parliament in place. So yeah, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion by any stretch. And
I don't either. I could not imagine that the Tories would win in 2019, much less with a fucking 80-seat majority. Are you fucking kidding me?
Brexit. Yeah. It was the Brexit con, wasn't it? It was a Brexit.
It was, but you know, and it was, but it's about those marginal seats, and it's about getting the majorities in the right seats. It's a fundamentally unfair system. And you know what? My 8-year-old kid at the time turned around, who had, you know, sacrificed many a night's sleep, well, more than you should at 8 years old, to go to marches in London. What 8-year-old do you know that is politically engaged and that makes their own little placard and goes to a march, voluntarily getting up at 4 a.m. and not coming back until 1 a.m. the next day?
What a legend, though.
An absolute legend.
Yeah.
And you know what this kid did on the 12th of December or 13th of December 2019? Turned around and said, all adults are idiots, and has never engaged with any politics since.
Yeah,
he is done.
But what Britain needed, I guess, for a lot of people was like that we were looking really stupid on the world stage.
We've got a clown as a prime minister.
That's nothing new, Graham. You just didn't realise it.
Nothing new.
No, I know, but what Boris Johnson offered people was that boosterism, that British jingoism, made people feel good about themselves. Now, talking to people, they are crying out for some adults to run the show. Because we don't have that at the moment. We've got a bunch of squabbling school kids.
Yeah, you don't know how good it would just be to have normal,
normal, boring
it'd be a nice,
politicians.
boring week in politics.
No populism. Like, get the
nice.
populism out. Yeah, that's the problem we have. Is it's just
boring
God,
people. Just boring people.
No, not necessarily boring, but like capable people who can actually get shit done.
Well, you know, politics is maybe a bit like air. You don't know how much you need it to be half decent.
Oh, I thought you meant the band. I thought you meant the French.
I did at first, and they're a good band, to be fair.
I mean, great. Did a great soundtrack to the Virgin Suicides.
They absolutely did. What is it? High School Lover. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
So I saw
they're on tour actually shortly. I think they're playing in London in a few weeks.
Let's go and see Air.
Oh shit! No way.
Should we go and see Air, Tam?
Yeah, they are. They're doing
I need some gigs to look forward
somewhere.
to.
I'd be up for going to see a bit of Air. They're up there with 07 for me. Like,
a band I've never heard of. You guys must have really weird music tastes.
No, Cozy, we've listened to music since 1989.
Yeah, man.
You were like, that's it. All the music's done now. The 80s are over. Goodbye. Good night.
There wasn't much good after 89.
Yeah. That's what the Russians, that's what the Soviets said.
The Einstürzen and Neubauten and the Toten Hosen still produced good music after 1989, but I can't think of anything in the UK.
I'll get my coat.
Yeah, thanks, Cozy. You've just scared Tom off.
I mean no disrespect, because honestly, I haven't heard of you. It's just...
Right, exactly.
Oh, really? You
So
get the coat.
you
I'll
might be
definitely get the
absolutely amazing. I might
Sorry,
love
I
your
just
music,
haven't
play your
heard of
music,
you.
you know.
We don't know who you are, so
I probably
whatever.
hear it and they go, "Oh yeah, I've heard that in places." I just don't pay attention.
This is a
to
lovely
the
leveler for the ego tonight, Tom. Like, lovely.
It's going to bring you right down to earth.
What I came for. This is it.
I've got some super chats to go through in a moment. For a moment, sorry. Puninator, £10. Thank you very much. Graham, to make you feel better, the public hate Sunak. Canvassing the last 3 weekends, and the issues are cost of living, NHS, and hatred for Sunak would make me feel bad for him if he didn't deserve it. So people not happy with Sunak. One Angry Pagan says the polls were a lot closer in 92. I agree with Phil, because Phil disagrees with me on this. He thinks it's a done deal for Labour to win in the next election. It's just going to be a question of how much they win by. I'm not so confident.
The next election that hasn't even been called yet. By the way,
in 1992, the pollsters were all independent. They're not as independent anymore. I don't think. I don't know. And Alan Poe, Tom, are Labour going to activate the youth vote, 18 to 35, like Obama did? I think it would be a great divider from the Tories.
Question.
It needs to be done. Yeah, people under the age of 35,
No.
70% of them are going to vote Labour, apparently.
And I've got a question for you, Tom, as well, because you know you're here
Tom,
as a Labour candidate, aren't you? So tell me, and because I don't have time to really keep up and read the manifesto or really understand what the policies are.
Have you read a manifesto since 1989? Have you read a manifesto since 1989?
I have. I actually read the 97 manifesto.
Okay.
Because I was very surprised that Major won in 92. I was on holiday at the time. I was in my first year at uni.
So you didn't vote. You didn't vote. That's why they lost.
You know I'm not allowed to vote.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to vote, are you?
I'm a foreigner, remember? And I came back and was very, very surprised because I really didn't imagine it.
No, you're not. You're one of us.
That was the first time I thought, okay, the Brits are just mental. They're nuts. But anyway, no, seriously, what are Labour's plans for immigration? Is Labour going to keep the minimum income requirement? Is it going to keep the hostile environment? Is it going to keep violating human rights?
I genuinely haven't heard what the policy is on this yet. Genuinely, it's not. We haven't produced anything.
Well, because we're not voters, so nobody gives a fuck, right?
I would argue that's not the case, but certainly
that is the case.
Well, you know, I'm the son of an immigrant, and you know that's definitely not my feeling.
Do you feel that your migrant parent was ever considered by politicians in the last 40 years?
Yeah,
positively considered.
I mean, my mother became a brilliant language teacher, and you know taught Scousers French and Spanish for many years. So
so have I.
Yeah, so I think, I mean,
I'm German. That's the really interesting bit.
Yeah, my mom spoke 5 languages. She was super smart. But yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, no, I certainly I wouldn't think that we're going to produce anything like that. I mean, obviously, what we're talking about is trying to go back in and rebuild our relations with the EU and rebuild our relations with the rest of the world, and you know what that might lead to, I don't know, but I can't imagine it being anything like the nonsense that we're doing now with the Rwanda policy, or I mean the absolute.
Don't even. I mean, the reason I had to take a phone call there was because somebody phoned me asking me for advice about the EU settlement scheme, because you know this is somebody who first moved to the UK in 2019, got their pre-settled status, and now is coming up to 5 years. There's very little support from grant-funded organisation. The Home Office has dialed down all the grant funding, but there are 2.5 million people with pre-settled status who don't necessarily know what they have to do in order to now get settled status and preserve their rights.
Well, you know, I think a lot of what we're talking about is trying to give people a clearer picture of where they stand on everything, you know, and real settlements, longer term settlements, clearer settlements in every respect of what we're talking about.
There's only one kind of settlement, that's indefinite leave to remain.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. The only thing I was saying is that what's going on a lot with this government is a sort of they keep moving the bar, they keep changing the position, and I think that creates as much of the problem for the sort of mental health of the people who are trapped in these situations and the sort of the insecurity of these situations as anything else. Is not knowing that there's anybody who's trustworthy or reliable at the other end trying to make these decisions. And what I can say is, even though we don't know, I couldn't tell you what the policy is yet.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be people who are trustworthy and reliable making these decisions.
I mean, look, that is something that I have a degree of faith in Labour in that respect. But we also know that, and it's really hard to gauge. For a long time, I thought it was incompetence. But then as I learned more, I discovered there's a lot of malice at play as well. When you look at, for example, the deliberate decision by the Home Office to use a racist facial recognition software. They were told not to, but they thought that all EU citizens look like me. They didn't consider Black Europeans.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
He has frozen.
Wayne is frozen. Wayne, come back.
Oh no, we lost Wayne.
Oh, I think it'd be interesting to see the manifesto. Like, I'm actually really can't wait to see the manifesto.
Yeah, same here. But you know what, guys? I want to speak about an election that's actually been called, and not the general election that we don't know when it's going to happen yet. Because
Can I just say
if
it might be June.
It might. I would
I've
hope
got
so.
a little bit of intel, possibly.
The numbers, the maths would work.
Everyone was saying that.
In June is the European parliamentary election. So if any EU citizens are watching, or if anybody knows any EU citizens, please remind them that even though the UK is now a third country, EU citizens can still vote in European parliamentary elections, and they must register now. The deadlines for registrations are coming up really, really quickly. The Belgians have already closed registrations. If you're Danish, you're lucky. They don't close it until very late in May. And in between, there's, of course, 27 different stories, which makes it very, very difficult to raise awareness.
I have to leave. I have to leave you, good people. So if there's
you don't,
I really do. I really do.
Tom's got things to do.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to. What was the name of your band? Gomez. I'm gonna have to.
Gomez. Go and look them up.
Don't, because then please don't actually listen to it in real time and give me a
Tom, before you go, just quickly to go
I
back
might
to
like
it. Cozy, just give us a moment. Just to go back to the youth question: is Labour looking to mobilise the youth vote, like what happened in America in
Look, I mean, I don't think there's a sort of a clear campaigning position like an Obama kind of embracing young people and trying to develop that so clearly. But all the young people who I speak to are like the same as me. I mean, probably I was 18 in 1997. And I was just sick of it. And it was everything that I'd ever grown up with. All I'd grown up with was the Tories. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And all the young people I talk to now are just desperate to see what something else looks like. They just want to know what it is, because that's all they've had. It's like 14 years of this is, it feels like it feels like a kind of like national nervo that we all need to escape. And I think young people are feeling that more than anybody else, the sense of chaos, the sense of, especially with COVID and Brexit and everything else, the mental health of our nation is really, really fraught. It's really broken.
Omni-crisis.
Yeah. And I think we don't need to necessarily tell young people that they've got a big problem. They know for themselves. Let's be clear.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Tom. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. People saying that they love Gomez. I'm wishing you well and everything.
Well, that's very sweet.
Thanks, Tom. It's
hopefully we'll talk again before the election. Give you some big ups.
I'll happily come back again.
I mean, if it helps, we've heard of you, so that.
I'm glad.
Everyone who isn't cozy is here.
I'm old. I don't count.
If you type in Graham Hughes, Gomez, BBC Liverpool, you might be able to find a gig review from like 2005 that I wrote for the BBC for you guys. It's got the set list on it as well. So there you go.
That is amazing. Was it a good review? Did you give us a good
Yes,
review?
yes. I'm glad I wrote
Okay,
nice
good.
things now. No, but the thing was, I didn't get paid for it. Come on, these are the great
Oh,
days
you
of
said
the
rock
internet.
band. That's promising.
You got on the guest list to go and see a band that you like, and then you just had to write some words about it. It was brilliant. That's what the internet should be.
That is brilliant. I'm starting off.
Cheers, mate.
Guitars. See you later, Tom. Bye.
Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Oh, what a nice bloke.
All
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I will look them up.
quickly, One Angry Pagan. Salisbury Cream will always be number one. I was waiting until Tom went before I said that. Thank you very much.
I'm going to see you later.
Questionable absurdity there. Story of the week. The harbour in Preston New Road filmed female naked patient and shared no prosecution, sick society. So this was about a patient in a hospital, was it, who was filmed where she was under sedation or something, and there was no prosecution.
It's a mental health issue, wasn't it? And someone filmed it and shared it to a couple of friends.
And nothing.
What?
My God.
What happened?
There was a woman who was in a mental health facility, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And she was filmed naked by the people who were working there. They shared the images, and none of them are being prosecuted. It's like, what?
Yeah, they all got off.
It's quite blatantly a crime.
Why
How
are
can
they
that
not
be
being
a crime?
prosecuted?
Because the Tories have been in charge for 14
And
years.
because like the fucking police are institutionally misogynistic.
Yeah.
And because
And
they
racist
right.
and homophobic.
they probably circulate.
Okay, but that can't be the official reasoning. So I want to know how are they justifying this crap?
Well, if you find the
They
story,
don't.
I'm sure I'll tell you
I
that.
think it was because it was a female that took the footage and shared it.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah, that's kind of the get out.
Where was this?
I'm not 100%. Preston, was it?
Is it Preston?
Preston.
Sake,
I
man.
thought that's what you guys said
But it's
earlier.
ultimately
That's Lancashire.
the CPS that make the decision about whether or not to do anything, and often they don't do anything. I mean, this is the point. And why don't they do anything? Because they're
Well, because they don't necessarily feel they've got a good enough case, but
it's not that though. I mean, there is the institutional misogyny, which means that like the woman matters less in their eyes than the people. I mean, that is ingrained into the system. So it's
100%.
It's literally
100%.
that. It's like, well, what the fuck does she matter? You see that on all fronts, unfortunately. I mean, even in the fire service, there's like this kind of these stories coming out in the fire service about similar tales of sexual misconduct and such from fire officers that are attending the scene of dead women. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't
What a
surprise
cheery
me.
note for a Friday night,
Well, it's the reality that I have to face, mate. Like,
we're living it every day.
No, I'm not.
We can have a little fight.
Right. Celebrity deathmatch.
I'm actually getting beat up by my cat. Look at that. That happened earlier.
Oh my God,
Tan,
that's awful.
And she clawed me. I've got claw marks all up my arm from this morning. I was woken up by claw marks.
Nail clippers are a thing.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, try
and nail files.
Guys, just to go back to this horrific story. Okay, I was just reading it while you were talking. It's in Blackpool, and basically a patient was filmed naked, and one of the employees filmed her and shared it with their friends. When the woman found out that she'd been filmed secretly and without her consent, she attempted to take her own life.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
And
it went
the woman's partner now wants he wants the police to investigate and believes the incident should be considered a criminal offence due to a new law that makes it illegal to record and share an intimate video of someone without their consent.
Of course, that should just be,
it should be obvious, yeah.
Yeah, because as soon as you share something, that's what do they call it? Like the porn shaming thing.
Yeah.
You know, where people
that's,
upload stuff to websites to
revenge porn. You're talking about
revenge porn. That kind of
yeah.
And even like I'm keeping an eye on the comments here, and some of them are just shocking. Like it's like, oh, poor men, like you're blaming men. Yeah, because like they're the people that head up these institutions, mate. Like unbelievable. It's like, yeah. It's like if you're a decent guy, you're not included in this that we're talking about. I mean, that's the thing that I think people need to take away from it. Get the fuck out of my phone.
Like to your point, Tan, that's just basically everyone getting all defensive and like trying to like defend their little.
Not all men. Not all men.
Not all men. No, we're not on one left.
It's just what a ridiculous thing to say. It really winds me up when people say that. It's like, so there's been a murder. Not all humans. What? Well, not all humans commit murders, you know.
Not all knives, you know. Not all knives.
I never said they do. They do. You know, it's just bloody ridiculous.
You get that with everything, though, don't you? You still get it with absolutely anything. It'll be not all something. You just will.
Well, it's worse. Like I suppose I see the most of it. I mean, and also I suppose as a gay guy, you get it too, Scott. Like with people kind of like trying to dismiss your experiences if you talk out about homophobia and stuff. But it's like what they do is they center themselves in the conversation, and they're like, "Oh, I'm offended by this, so it's now all about me and how I feel about it." Totally dismissing the lived experience of people like me. That have had to deal with being sexually harassed since I was in primary school by grown men. You know, it's like, for fuck's sake, like
it's weird because also as well with the acceptance of homosexuality in our society over the last 20 years, when you try to explain that 20 years ago it really wasn't as accepting as it was now, and people were a lot more bold with their homophobia. The kids almost don't even believe that's true.
Yeah.
They had no experience of it.
Within my mum's lifetime, you were illegal.
Right.
Within my lifetime, you were. I had illegal sex in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I didn't.
Well, actually, I had illegal straight sex in the 1980s as well, but I also had illegal sex with a girl in the 1980s.
I think illegal sex is sexier, actually. If it's
Well,
illegal,
well,
okay. Depends on the level of illegality.
Consensual illegal sex.
Above the age of consent, to be clear.
Yes, legal. Like legal and consent. Oh my god, all right, okay. Right, I'm just going to take my foot out of my mouth now.
Take that fucking shovel out your hand, you cunt.
But that's the thing, the age of consent has changed. I
think what you're referring to, Graham, is like doing stuff that's illegal in places where they've kind of like got archaic laws about sexuality. I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you, Tan. Yes, that's what I meant. As a well-travelled man of the world,
people were murdered for being gay.
Absolutely.
They still are. They still are in Iran and Saudi Arabia. They can be put to death by the state.
But yes, you're right. Yeah.
Graham, have you travelled the world? You keep that quiet.
You can read all about it in my book, Man of the World. By
have you been to every country in the world? Like
you
every
do not have
another bingo card.
Oh, I love
have
you,
man. Have you actually done that?
I think
all
I'll
right,
read you.
RuPaul.
Right, I'm going to have to tell you where I was yesterday.
Oh, yes, by the way. Check out my book.
By the way. Would you like to know a fascinating fact?
By the way, you're welcome for the segue.
Is it that you've got an island?
He's got fucking bookmarks.
No, every page it's got like a little thing on the page, and you can see that, but it's got little country cards,
that
and it tells you a little fact.
They're really
Here
cute.
you go, Russia. Every year on September the 12th, Russian workers are given the day off so they can stay home and have sex.
What?
That's
I
the
don't
fact
remember reading this.
about Russia. There you go.
Oh, hang on a minute. What was that again? On what day of the year?
September the
12th.
12th.
September.
What on
September the 12th.
See how I made a note of the date.
What about the poor people that haven't got anyone? They just have like a pot noodle and a wank on
They have a wank.
Yeah.
They come home to have a cold pot noodle and a crank.
To be fair, Tan.
The 14th of March, shouldn't it?
Oh, National Blowjob Day.
Yeah, steak and blowjob day.
Steak and blowjob.
Yep. Also my birthday as well.
What?
Do you use that as a line on that day?
No, it is my birthday.
It's my birthday.
No, it is actually my birthday.
Friday is your birthday.
I have leveled up.
Yeah, that is
But you go home with a warm ginsters and a fucking copy of Nuts magazine.
Nuts magazine doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, don't cook it.
Oh no,
properly,
no,
do
vintage,
warm.
vintage.
Is a warm ginsters a euphemism?
Disco Minge.
I'll tell you what, though, it's a great band name, isn't it? Warm Ginsters.
Warm ginsters. Yeah,
That's a great band name.
Yeah.
Got to see the Warm Ginsters.
Yeah, they're playing in the live lounge this week.
No, next time Tom comes on, I'll pull out my ukulele and try to get him convinced he needs to join this up and coming band, Warm Ginsters.
Why
just
not?
want to do a quick. I just wanted to do a quick ad for this channel. David Farrow in the chat saying, "Recombating prejudice, publicise the intersection. Wednesday's stream was excellent. Thank you. More of that, please." Well, Rachel's going to be interviewing Patsy Stevenson next week. So for the intersection, yeah.
Oh,
Patsy's
awesome.
going to be doing
Oh, I love
interviews.
Patsy. We were chatting
Where
today
is Rachel?
about she and where is Rach tonight?
Rachel's out. Rachel's doing. She's got things to do. She's
Got a
got better
life.
things to do. Yeah, she's got a life.
How dare she have a life?
You see,
I thought she was
Graham's
looking
back-
fast.
Told him, get a life.
Graham's like, please don't get a life because then you won't be able to come on. Like,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Mm.
No, but
I
for
have a
those who don't
life.
know, Patsy Stevenson is the protester who was, well, actually, she wasn't even a protester at the time. She was just standing there at the vigil for Sarah Everard, the woman who was brutally murdered by a serving police officer. And she's the woman who was arrested by the police for a candle vigil on the same that Kate Middleton was there at the same thing, but suddenly a few hours later the police decided, no, we can't have this anymore. And there's that famous picture of the red-haired woman being pinned down by about 4 male police officers.
That was quite some photograph. That was a powerful picture.
Yeah, and that's Patsy. So she'll be joining us for the intersection this week.
oh, I love her. We were talking
Wednesday,
about
6 o'clock. Please tune in.
I'm worried about.
dating lives today on the group chat.
She was great. She was on Sky News today, tearing James Cleverly a new one.
Oh, she
James
did really
Cleverly's
well.
part of it, like heading up a task force to stop drink spiking when he's made jokes about spiking his wife's drink.
He's drugging his own wife. What next? Like Ted Bundy at the Women's Institute. Talking about how...
He's been
I mean, I used to be in an alternative WI, but even we wouldn't.
he's like a Bill Cosby fucking parody. You know what I mean? You don't do that, mate. You dick.
Parody.
Bill Cosby.
Harsh.
I mean, it's the world, you know.
Just mentioning, Kate, I don't want to go too much into this, but the news has broken this evening that Kate actually has bowel cancer or a cancer. I don't know.
Who? Kate who?
They didn't say
Kate
bowel.
Middleton.
Like they
They
said.
didn't
I
say
didn't.
what-
I tried to
cancer.
catch
Is
what
that
the
type of
Princess
cancer, but I
of
don't think
Wales?
they said what kind. But
So
yeah,
she's given a statement. She's given a statement. She's done a video explaining what's happened, and you know, I suspected that it was something to do with Kate driving the secrecy behind all this. My reasoning behind that was the fact that her family weren't saying anything, her friends weren't saying anything. So I didn't quite believe the whole, oh well, you know, Will's got someone up the duff and that's why they'll keep it secret.
I guarantee Megan will
get
get blamed.
Did you say
Megan will get
no, and
blamed.
the reason they
Wayne.
said it, the reason
on,
they said
Scott,
it today.
sorry,
was
Cozy,
that-
You said.
Scott, say that again.
Did someone say that? I didn't hear what you said. Did you say someone was going to whistle blow?
No, I'm saying that
No.
if basically all the theories that were coming out, one of them was that William had this affair and that he was trying to keep it all under wraps and stuff. But I was always a bit kicking back against that, saying, well, if that happened, why would her friends and family protect him? Do you know what I mean? They'd be like, screw that guy. You know, I thought that this was coming from Kate, that she was the one saying, I don't want to be out there, I don't want to be seen, you know, for whatever reason. And now we know what that reason
I'm
is.
sorry. So this is like really the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
Has she been receiving treatment all this time?
Yes.
Or is
Yeah.
she...
Now
Right.
I'm
So while
She had-
she's been receiving treatment,
She had the
kept her head down.
operation. She had the routine, the planned scheduled operation on her abdomen in January, and they thought there was no cancer. But when they were there, they did a biopsy and they found cancer.
Right.
So
and now they're doing preventive
chemo.
chemo.
So she's going through chemo, which is really, really fucking unpleasant.
Really
and I can
horrible.
completely
Yeah.
understand why she doesn't want to be out
whoever
there.
it affects. Like whoever has cancer, it's a terrible situation.
Exactly.
And you know, a young mum as well.
It must be terrible.
It must be
So
terrible.
that's why she made the statement today, or the video statement today, because the kids went off school today, so they're not in school now for the best part of 3 weeks for the Easter holidays. So they're gonna avoid all the gossip mill, and hopefully things will have blown over and calmed down, and all the speculation will have calmed down a little bit.
Hopefully. I mean, it's been a bit intense, but I have to say, who did the comms training at the Royal Palace? I mean, Myra Hindley, it was insane. It was like they could not have handled it worse. They could not have handled it worse, and they have actually thrown her under the bus to some extent with it.
Yeah.
And you know, and but at the same time, like the kind of you know, the class warrior in me is thinking, well, you know, there's millions on NHS waiting lists who are living in fear and panic without any help. And I have to acknowledge them because it's a terrible disease, whoever it happens to. And it doesn't take away from the fact that it's terrible that it's happening to her, I think, to mention the fact that we've got extraordinarily kind of long waiting lists and such. In the same vein, it's really important to acknowledge those people who don't have the stellar care that are currently facing this. It might feel like a bit of a slap in the face to those people and the relatives of those people.
That's why she kept it quiet.
Do you know what? Do you know what I think's a slap in the face, Tan? The fact that there are billionaires out there who have all this money, and they could put it towards cancer, cancer research. For every part of your body that exists, you can get cancer, and there are different types of cancer you can get for that part of your body. Pretty much, some of them are rarer than others. Some of them you can live with for a very long time. Some of them treatable, some of them are not. But instead of putting money into things like cancer research, these motherfuckers want to go into space because whatever. And it's just like
to your point, Graham. There are literally 3 very famous people that own massive companies that could literally just fund all of this shit and shut it all down.
Yeah.
But they don't. Why? Because they're selfish cunts. That's it.
Exactly.
They want to compensate by sending big knob-shaped objects into the sky. That's why.
Exactly. Look at my huge phallus.
The only good thing about the rich is that the only redeeming feature is that they're edible.
I know, so eat the rich.
Eat the rich, but no, I don't want to kind of detract from the fact that, like, whoever it happens to, it's bad. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's a terrible disease, you know. Even Tories, it's
Tories.
I said I wouldn't even wish it on Tories because it's such a
Wouldn't you?
No, of course I wouldn't. No, that's terrible. It's a horrible thing to go through. I've seen, people gradually waste away from it. It's horrific.
And everyone's got a story. Everyone knows someone who died of cancer. My grandmother died of cancer. My sister died of cancer. It is the one disease that we really struggle with fighting against because it's so individual. It is so unique.
So many different kinds.
So many different kinds, but it's unique to you. Yeah. You know, it's your body. Your body doesn't react like it does when you get a virus, which is a foreign entity entering your body, and your body will attack it. You can't be immunized necessarily. I know you can get immunized against getting Pavlova virus, which leads to cervical cancer. But I mean, you can't get a vaccination against cervical cancer. You can still get, it's very unlikely, but you can still get cervical cancer.
Yeah,
and by the way, it's not just cervical cancers. In men, it's mostly cancers of the mouth.
Mouth, really?
Yeah, they're all caused by the same virus. It's the wart virus.
Oh, you're talking about the HPV?
Yeah.
Human papillomavirus, which is why, ladies, it's really important to people with cervixes to get your smear tests. Regularly. It takes 5.
But the reason why girls get vaccinated and not boys is because the rationale in public health is we'll jab the girls and then we don't have to bother vaccinating the boys, but they can get it as well.
They can get it as well. Well, the men spread it.
But not everyone gets the HPV virus. I didn't get it when I was younger. It's only quite
It didn't
recent.
exist, did it?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very young. Yeah, it didn't exist in
Quite recent.
I wish it did
My niece
exist,
has had
because
it,
if
my
it did
kids are
exist,
getting
there's a
it.
very good chance my sister would still be with us.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's
Oh mate, yeah.
terrible.
So I have a particular personal thing about vaccinations. I mean, not just the fact that I've been vaccinated against everything, and it's never done me no harm, but also my partner. The reason why Kat is deaf is because she got measles as a kid because she couldn't be vaccinated. She relied on herd immunity, or her parents did, and she got measles at 4 years old. Measles is a deadly disease. It can make you go blind. It can make you go deaf. It can kill you. Another friend of mine, Richard, who also got measles when we were kids. We were in infant school together. He was in a coma. He went
Holy
under
shit.
a couple of times with measles.
Were you not vaccinated? Was there? I mean, because we grew up in different countries, but we're also a different generation. So I got the MMR vaccine fairly, in comparison to my children, quite late. I think I was about 10 or 11. And it was the triple vaccine was still a fairly
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah. Not BCG. No,
but how was? Yeah, I was the first
the one
in the family that didn't get
in the
BCG.
left arm.
Yeah, the scar. But the HPV vaccine is quite recent, and it's not a sexually transmitted disease necessarily, because anyone that has sex can get HPV. But it's particularly bad for women in the sense that it can cause cervical cancer. So if you do get a positive HPV, which a lot of women do, marker, then your body takes a couple of years sometimes to clear it, and they'll give you like a yearly a smear test just to keep track of it. So that's why it's so important to go for your tests, and just to destigmatize for any people out there that might not it's so quick. It's just done with in 5 minutes. You go in, you sit there, it's a bit uncomfortable. You have to sit with your legs up in the stirrups for a few minutes. They do a swab and then that's done. So please get them, because it could save your life. So
absolutely. I had a precancerous growth on my cervix when I was 23, and if I'd relied on the NHS, I wouldn't be here. So there you go.
Oh, wow. So what happened? Did you go?
I went to Germany.
Private? You went to Germany?
No, I went to Germany. So I actually had symptoms, and I used to have smear tests in Germany since the age of 16 really regularly, partly because I often had a slightly dodgy pap. I had slightly elevated cell movement. So they were like, oh, let's keep an eye on it. And incidentally, it is the same virus as any warts on your hands or feet. And there are about 32 different viruses. It's only 2 that the vaccination is against, but they're the 2 that are most implicated in cancers. So anyway, what happened with me is that I had to jump up and down and cause a riot, have a proper hissy fit. I had a proper meltdown at my GP just to get a smear test. I was like, I demand a smear test. I know something is not right.
But they won't.
It's ridiculous. Because I was too young.
Yeah, too young.
I mean, this is
they refuse to do it.
Cozy, can I just inquire, like, as to how does the German health service work? Like, is it like the NHS, or is it
no? It's insurance based.
Okay.
It's insurance based. So about 80% of the German population are insured by a state insurer.
Okay. So the state insures it. So it is kind of like the NHS.
Well, no, it's like it's an insurance company, but it's underwritten by the government or by, a lot of them are tied to professions. So there's a technician's health insurance and so on and so forth. It's like a civil service insurance company. There's a postal workers insurance company, and so on. And it's quite a convoluted system, because the state actually sets, so there's a point system, and the state sets how much each point is worth. And when you go to the doctor, they're allowed to, for each treatment or each intervention that they do, they're allowed to write down so many points.
Yeah.
So you do get a situation where, they do all the tests, because more tests means more points.
Yeah, and then more money for the insurance company.
Exactly. But, it also means that, you know, people get all the most modern healthcare that is out there, and there's a good percentage of people that are privately insured as well. So for those, you know, in terms of billing, the sky's the limit almost. Well, it depends within reason, or within certain conditions. So at one point, I was insured with my dad. And because my dad was a doctor, at one point I was in the state insurance, but then at one point he went for a private insurance as he got older and had slightly different needs.
So,
so for my care, they were allowed to bill as a student 1.7 times the point value.
right. So, just look, this is a very sort of like brutal analysis of what you said. So it's basically dependent on your job and
Mostly,
your your worth to the country as to how much your health insurance covers.
I wouldn't say you are worth to the country. It's just, you know, what kind of a contract you happen to have negotiated. So for example, if you're in a private insurance, as a student, I got a different rate. They paid a different rate for me, a lower rate than, for example, for my dad. Now, private insurances will pay more than the state insurances. And that's how doctors make it work. They have a mixture of state insured and privately insured patients.
But is there a crossover though?
They go to the same. You go to the same doctors. You go to the same hospitals. You just, if you're private, you might in a hospital you might get a single room or a 2-bedroom rather than in a room of 4 beds, and that's the difference.
Okay.
You know, you can get a telly, or you pay less for the telly and it's included. That sort of thing. So but the actual medical care is the same. They do, but they're able to charge a little bit more from the private insurers, but you pay a higher premium.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have no idea, like, because when I cracked my head open here after coming home, pissed out me nut, I spoke to my late friend Stevie, and he worked out the exact cost that it would be in America for what happened to me. Like, I got blue lighted to
that's $4,000.
Yeah.
For the ambulance.
People run away from ambulances in America. Like, if an ambulance turns up, like legging it, they're like, I'm not paying for this, I'm running away from it.
Same in Australia, actually.
It is the same because in Australia, I had to have when I was there, I had to go to the doctors, and it cost me like, there's this, I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's like Medicare or something, where you get, as a foreigner, you get a certain discount for if you're in a certain country or something.
Medicaid.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was called Medicare, wasn't it? I don't know what it was called, but the hospitals were really clean and efficient. Like, all the doctor surgeries were really clean and efficient, and it all worked. But the only problem was it really cost you. Like, I had to have antibiotics for like I'd cut my foot open, and it got infected in the heat and it wouldn't heal, and I had to get antibiotics, and it cost me like £80 just to see a doctor, and then I had to pay for like the full whack antibiotics on top. But on the bonus point, I said I was nervous about flying home, and they gave me some top rate Valium at like very little cost. So, which helped, because the plane ride on the way back from Australia, it actually felt at one point like it was going to crash. The fucking things, the emergency mask came down. The was so bad, it was shaking, and there was.
But you didn't give a shit.
I was just going.
Super Tansky sitting there with a tray down, fucking chopping up Valium.
No, I was like, and the man next to me gave me his wine, and I washed down 3 Valium, and then it calmed down, and I had to do this hidden domestic flight between Shanghai and Beijing in the middle of the night with no help. Like, I had to kind of like navigate my way through, because I survived it, but I was off my tits on Valium. But yeah, that's the only upside, was that they gave me loads of like cheap Valium.
Valium, well, there's something. But you know what? What's interesting, when I was pregnant, I looked into having an amniocentesis and the cost. I wasn't going to get it on the NHS, so I checked out how much it cost privately. And I can't remember the numbers now, but my sister-in-law in Germany is a gynecologist, so I asked her how much is it in Germany, and it was a fraction of the price. It was like a third. I was really, really shocked. Private treatment in the UK is actually a lot more expensive. So because the prices are regulated in Germany in this way, they're actually a lot cheaper, even if you pay for it.
Now I know what to do if I mean that's you get all the lads doing their hair treatments and their teeth in Turkey, don't you? Because of aesthetic. But the
teeth,
that...
absolutely. My friend
and look at the fucking disasters.
But anyway, you wanted to know what happened with my smear, my dodgy smear I mean, this is way back in 1994 when the NHS was still in much better nick. But even back then, I had to jump up and down to get the smear. I had it. It took 6 weeks for the results. And then they told me that I had to have a colposcopy to look at the cervix more clearly with a microscope and check it out more clearly. And there was no treatment in sight. So by this time, it was December. Christmas was coming up. So I was back in Germany over the Christmas holidays. I went to the hospital to have a smear on the 26th of December. On the 29th, they told me I had to come back and have a biopsy and have a conization. It's a type of biopsy. So where they take a biopsy and have it excised. And I went, well, I can't do it now because I've got to go back and do exams. This was in my 3rd year. So I postponed it by 3 weeks. But the reason I postponed to have it in reading week, I went back during reading week, had it whipped out. They did the biopsy. They said, yep, it was a precancerous growth, but we caught it in time, all good. In the UK, I wouldn't have even gotten to the colposcopy until April, and they wouldn't have done a cone biopsy, so we wouldn't have known exactly what it was. And they might have done a loop diathermy if I'm lucky at some point in April. I don't know how far that growth would have progressed by then.
I mean, it's getting failed at the moment catastrophically. 500 people, they think, are dying per week. That could be saved in our current state of the NHS. We've got like nearly 8 million people on waiting lists.
That's insane.
Like the cancer kind of prognosis is like declining rapidly, which is why in a way like it is a bit of a slap in, obviously, like it doesn't mean that I think that in any way it doesn't take away from on a personal level, like royal or not, anyone that has cancer, it's bad.
It's horrible.
But I think about those people that are kind of sitting there waiting longer than they should because this government's just driven the NHS into the ground like horrifically. And it's again, it's not the staff. Like the staff are doing the best they can.
Absolutely, they're heroes. They really are
legends. And it's like, but they you know, I've had NHS staff say to me that they feel like they're working in field hospitals.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, I had to go to A&E the other week, last weekend, and it was brutally like chaotic. Like the last thing that you need when you're feeling like shit is chaos, and it was absolute chaos. There were people that like looked unconscious that I didn't know if they were alive or not in the waiting room. There were people bleeding out. There were people people bleeding, and it was just like you could see the expression on the receptionist and the staff that I saw. It was like it was just stress, pure stress, and it was horrific. And in Essex, I mean, our particular hospital's in special measures. I think I believe
yes it is.
It is
Broomfield.
No, but let's not dox anyone.
Further north, but it's not.
Oh right, yeah.
It's not good, and they've had a lot of problems with you know, people just missing, like especially mental health wise. I mean, they've had people that have been let out of mental health wards and then have gone on to take their own life, and really commonly actually. That was one of the places where I actually had a mental health nurse laugh at me when I said that I would like talking therapy. I literally laughed in my face, which was nice at the time.
Yeah, darling, wouldn't we all?
Yeah, that was that kind of attitude. It was like,
I'd
you're not getting a
her.
psychiatrist. You're not getting this help. What are you talking? You know, it's that kind of attitude. And yeah,
I want CBT. I'm gonna fucking drop you on your fucking ass, you cunt.
I did hear a funny story from a guy.
Wayne, we need to keep these videos monetized. Stop dropping C-bombs everywhere.
I said see you next Tuesday.
C unit. Anyway,
But they
sorry,
do only
Tan.
give you they give you group therapy after you've waited years. They'll force you to have group therapy. But I did know a guy who said that the way that he got around that was by kind of gradually completing group therapy to the point where he was a stand-up. I can't tell if this was a joke or not, but he said that he alienated everyone else to the point where he got one-on-one therapy during the group sessions. And I was like, you did not. But
that's my plan.
That's a way around it, is to just completely alienate everyone else.
My plan, Tan, is when the draft comes, originally I was just going to go, I can't be drafted, I'm gay, and then I'll just go and do some gay stuff, and then they'll say, okay, he's definitely gay, and then I wouldn't have to fight in a war, right? But now it doesn't work anymore because of all these do-gooders saying, oh, gay people should be allowed in the army.
No.
So my plan is now just to...
Bone spurs.
No, not bone. I don't have bone spurs. It's just to start masturbating and never stop. That's it. That's my cunning plan.
Compulsion wanker. I can't go to the army.
So they'll be in the recruitment office, and I'll be.
You just start wanking everybody else off as well. Can't help yourself.
Yeah.
And then
plates.
They'll take me to see the psychologist who will say, "Will you stop?" And I'll be like, "I just can't."
Are we turning a Labour Social into Pornhub so we don't have to?
No, I'm just saying this is my secret plan if the draft ever comes. Because you know what, I love this country, but I sure shit ain't dying for it. I'm sorry, I don't love it that much.
We'll just start wanking in public all the time, just wanking, endless wanking.
Yeah. Good for you. Like Klinger from MASH.
This is becoming like a big train sketch.
Tony, you made me laugh so hard that the cat woke up.
Oh, the big train sketch.
I'm getting my
big
revenge.
Train.
Big train.
Big train sketch.
Great.
I used to love working in this office where I could just wank at will.
Oh man, is the big train sketch the one where they start? Oh no, I think that's the day to day, isn't it? Where they allow illegal drugs in the office of all description.
That's
I think that was Big Train, yeah.
No, Big Train was the office. It was office wanking, wasn't it? I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
So I'm
there was the office wanking, and there was also one of my favourite sketches was the jockeys that turn up at the fire.
The fire! Oh, that's the best one.
This conversation has taken a fucking turn.
Ralph McTell.
Sorry,
that's my favourite one. They get Ralph McTell to turn up, and they start throwing bottles at him because he does a different song. He does the same song forever.
I've got a few super chats that I've stacked up, so I'm just going to say thank you to Questionable Absanity. Happy story of the week. Abigail Thorne is in Baldur's Gate 3 and The Acolyte.
What?
Yeah.
Yay! I'm all over that. All over that. I might turn my PlayStation on just for that game.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
Baldur's Gate 3, it's like the biggest game ever.
Yeah, it's like the best. Yeah, just go play it.
And One Angry Pagan, thank you much. Sorry, Cozy, but I still prefer NHS ethos, which I agree with, actually.
Lay back
free at the point of delivery. Is this about crafty wank?
No doubt about it. The NHS ethos is amazing, so I'm not quibbling with that. What I'm quibbling with is it being underfunded.
And whose fault is that? Those fuckers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cozy,
it was the Tories in 1994 as well. So
Cozy, we all agree with that.
It's actually
underfunded, badly managed. It's shit.
Can I just point out that it's actually not underfunded? It's just that the Tories decide that money needs to go to their service providers who are making a profit for shareholders, usually in another country. So they're spending the same amount of money. It's just that a proportion of that would be going to our medication and our support and our mental health support is being given to shareholders in America, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Australia.
When you go to a hospital and you see a Costa coffee in your hospital, you know that shit is wrong.
We've got one in our one, actually.
That's
But
the least of our worries, to be honest with you.
may I pose a little bit of good news of the week?
Yes, please do.
Yes. Frank Hester, the
Yes.
is being investigated for
This
his...
was going to be my story of the week. Thanks, Cam.
Oh,
it's been
being investigated by
gazumped.
the police, finally, for the things he said.
Yes, very good.
Warren.
This is brilliant. Brilliant news.
It
So-
is good news.
Because what he said is against the law, isn't it? Because he was he was instigating violence against
Towards an
an MP.
Based on the colour of her skin, I hate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What
and
a horror.
gender. And her gender, it would, yeah.
If
I would-
if
I don't think
only
it's going to happen to him.
no, and I
Well-
don't think they're going to get the 15 million back. And it just makes me
It's-
sad
it's-
that if it was any other organisation and
It's
there was
already-
a government
it's
in
already
charge
spent.
that wasn't
It's
corrupt
already spent.
and messed
That
up.
15
No,
million
but they've
is
still
already
got
spent.
they've got 15 million in their coffers.
50 million in
Hang
the
on a
bank.
minute. If you look at the Infosys profits, which go via shares to Rishi Sunak's wife,
Yes.
I believe that's around 11 or 12 million a year, at least.
Yeah.
So maybe he could just...
15 million is pocket change.
She's sitting on
when
a
we're talking
fortune,
about
like-
the Conservative Party, though.
But she's sitting on a
Mhm.
massive fortune, like she's richer than royalty.
Yeah.
So she could actually, like, they could actually physically pay it back themselves, like if it came to it. but
Without even thinking about it.
without even that would be small change to them. Like
Oh,
so,
peanuts.
peanuts.
Wouldn't
So-
wouldn't even fucking touch the sides.
No.
But
Wouldn't
they
even
are
touch the
still
sides.
trading with Russia, which brings us into. Have you guys talked much about what happened in Russia tonight, which is horrific? It's like
No, we haven't mentioned it, but
We
Ollie,
haven't yet.
Ollie's going to be all over this.
Russia
Yeah.
clan.
Ollie,
I've
tell us
been
the
keeping
latest.
an eye on Russian media as we've been watching this because Dmitry Medvedev came out a couple of hours ago to say that if this was Ukraine, they would strike back and their leaders, and it seemed that that's the way that they were going to.
They're trying to pin it
Apparently,
on-
ISIS has now claimed
For
responsibility
fuck's
for
sake.
it.
ISIS.
Yep.
What in
Are
Russia?
they still going?
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah.
I call false flag.
It's like take
This
that
is
have got back together.
distraction.
It's very convenient, though, isn't it, that it's happened
Very convenient just after an
just
election.
after Putin?
Yeah, it's very
That was
Chechen
dodgy
War
as
too.
hell.
It's got a bit
What
looking out the
happened?
window,
I still
like,
don't know what happened. What happened?
Scott, do you
Oh.
not know anything?
So
I'm
there was
sorry, I wasn't
essentially a massive.
news before I came on the show. Okay.
There was a
fucking love
terrorist
you,
attack.
Scott. I
Actually
fucking love
happened.
you.
Who
Scott's
died?
got a
I love
life.
you.
Scott,
All like
You
Basically-
naive little princess. I'm going to give you a
Scott.
big cuddle when I see you.
Scott, basically in Moscow tonight, there was a kind of Bataclan-esque like terror attack in a theatre.
What band?
Men dressed in camo gear stormed the theatre and just shot dead loads of people. I mean, they reckon last time I saw it was like 40 plus dead, 100 including kids.
40.
And then the building was on fire. Like the entire building was just on fire.
And a massive fire.
Scott, mate, just open up your phone, have a little look.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I'd be content warning because if you do look it up, you will see a lot of videos.
No, just
a lot
just
of,
news
do
wise.
that.
Yeah,
Guys, can I really just can I just take a moment to say if just Scott, hang on. If there are videos of horrible things, if there are photos of horrible things, can I please stress that people don't share them because you don't know the mental state of people who are seeing those images.
Yeah.
And I know you're trying to do the right thing. I know you're trying to bring attention to a horrible thing that has happened, but
Some
you
people
don't know
are.
the mental state of the people who are looking at
And
that.
not
So
just
please
that,
do
and-
not share them.
So
And animal abuse as well. Animal abuse as well.
there is a censored
Graham, to
video
your
on
point-
ITV that gives you enough of an impression that you don't need to see more.
They blur it out. I mean,
Let me
Yeah,
let me
It's blurred out. It's the very
Right.
start. So
Like-
As a disclaimer, I would like to say, to your point, Graham,
Yeah.
please just look at the textual data about what's happened. Do not
look
look
at-
at videos or
Yeah.
pictures. Or
No, I
anything
don't. But
like
people
that.
post it on YouTube or on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah, but you can,
And you're
but
scrolling
Graham-
through,
Graham,
and then you see a picture, and it stays with you.
but you can avoid it. You can avoid it.
You
How?
can't.
Just look at
You can't if someone's posted it on YouTube. On Twitter, you can't.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
thanks to old Elon Musk.
And it's not just that, but it's also a rolling story, and people don't probably want to find out from Twitter that their loved one's dead. Like, this is another reason why you should never ever share coverage of a rolling incident like this, because there might be people sitting at home worried about their kid or their mum or their friend,
and then see them,
and then they see their dead body splattered everywhere. I mean, that is just not what to do.
We're living in the middle of a mental health crisis, and it's not just the UK; it is worldwide, and we need to be a little bit more sensitive that people don't necessarily digest information the same way that we might.
So it's like literal snuff films. Like, you don't just force that on people, and you don't like have a bit of respect for the people that are dead as well. Like, these people have died, and they don't have any consent about whether or not their dead bodies plastered everywhere, do they? Like, they don't have any say in it. So it's
also it's what the terrorists want.
Of course it is.
It's like when they let that terrorist who murdered all the kids on the island in Norway. They let everyone know his name, and they let him do a little speech.
That is the epitome of terrorism. Doing something to further an agenda. So if we can disrupt that in any way, if we can disrupt that in any way, shape, or form, then they lose.
Well, they refuse to be terrorized. Refuse to
memorize the names of the victims, not the perpetrators.
100%.
And we always know the names of the perpetrators. It's really, really annoying. Like that case, I think it was it Norway or was it Sweden? But I remember his name.
Norway. And the same with the fucker who shot John Lennon. You've got someone who did it to be famous. We shouldn't know their name. That it should never been announced. It should never been released to the press. It should be Mr. X. We don't know who this person was because they did it to be famous.
I had such massive respect for Jacinda Ardern when she refused to say the name ever of the perpetrator
but why is it
in Christchurch?
But why is it we know the name of a certain person who shares the same name with a sports presenter over here? And we know a certain person whose name is initials are AB. Why do we know their names?
No idea what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're talking code.
Because I'm not.
You don't want
to
say the names of these perpetrators, but just Gary say perpetrator. It's fine.
What's Gary Neville done? What's
the good news is I don't know who you're talking about.
What's Gary Lineker
done? Southgate. What's he done? That was in my mind. That was the first thing I went to. But I just saw.
That's exactly what I'm thinking because I have no idea who what.
I mean, Michael Moore.
Right. I'll say him once.
Al Bundy.
Right? This is
Al Bundy. He was a serial killer. No, he was the guy from Married with Children.
Ted
Bundy.
So
now Andreas Breivik.
Mark Checkman took out John Lennon.
You're talking about Andreas Breivik, yeah?
I don't actually. I didn't know.
Anders Breivik. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say their names because they are well documented.
Anders what?
Breivik, the guy who did.
Who was that? Who did he kill?
He shot all the kids on the
Everyone.
He killed the kids on the island in Norway back in 2011.
That one from Norway. Yeah. You know what? I didn't even know his name.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's why I didn't want to say his name. I didn't want to promote him. I'm not trying to put him over.
So Wayne, next time you say the guy who shot all the kids on the island, you don't say his actual name.
Just say the guy who shot all the kids on. I mean,
just say the guy who shot all the kids on the island.
Or get their name wrong because that probably pisses them off.
I'll tell you though that they did a movie about that, haven't they? It's on Netflix.
I mean, this is another problem.
And I won't watch it. I won't watch it because I feel like that movie glorifies what happened.
They do glorify them. I mean,
and I'm just like, I don't want to see that.
Years and years and years ago, they talked about. I think it was Michael Moore talked about how all the things that you don't do. I think it was Columbine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said you don't do rolling coverage. You don't give like all these different things to kind of glorify the killers, right? Because that's what they're craving. They're craving that attention. They're craving that.
That's why they do it.
And they still fucking do all the things. They provide this rolling coverage. They provide like on scene pictures and grotesque images. And it just gives them the status that they're craving, which they'll be sitting there kind of like before they die, seeing all of this stuff.
But I don't think that. See, I don't think the media would do it unless it got views and followers and clicks and likes. If they didn't get that, then they wouldn't do it.
I think that's letting them off a little bit there, though.
Fucked.
Yeah, but that's their job.
My point on this would be
because right, okay. So sorry.
No, when it comes to these killers who do it to be famous, like that is literally giving them what they want. They have done this for this specific purpose, this horrific act of being famous, and it would be a bit like somebody robbing a bank. Why did you rob the bank? Because I wanted to be rich. Okay, well we've arrested you and we're going to put you on trial, but we're going to give you all the money. Even though, that was the motivation for the crime, we're going to give you what the motivation for the crime was. So that's why I think that we need to,
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that, Tan said like someone like Michael Moore, the documentarian, I take it, he would be, he's saying don't do rolling coverage, but And anybody with a brain can work out why you wouldn't do that. The people who run the media know that what they're doing, but they're doing, and I think they do it because people watch it. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a cultural thing where people still watch it. If people didn't watch it, they wouldn't do it.
100%. It's like why do we have these constant sort of like murder sort of like shows that go online, like how she slowly killed him this way and all that, and then they put her picture up at like her mugshot and her name front and center. We sit there and we watch it and we go, oh, that's interesting. But like if you go back to sort of like and Scott, you'll appreciate this. Like you go back to Waco, right? We know who was in charge of Waco, but we do not know any names of the victims of that Waco. The drinking the Kool-Aid, that's where it came from. No one knows any one of their names.
No, drinking the Kool-Aid doesn't come from Waco, mate.
Waco.
It was from Jonestown in Guyana. It was Reverend Jim Jones. Who
get your Colts right, Wayne. Get your Colts right.
No, all I'm going to say is Netflix is going to be responsible for pretty.
No, I've been. I didn't actually go to the compound, but I went quite close to it when I was in Guyana.
You did not.
It's on the way. It's on the way. It's shut off. You can't really get into it, but I mean, the main road goes quite close to it now. If you're going up to the capital, Georgetown. From where I crossed the border from Brazil, but it was horrific. Over 1,000 people committed suicide. All were murdered. Men, women, and children.
Children were forced
to poison Kool-Aid because they were in thrall of this.
Have you ever heard
Have you not heard
the tape?
No.
There is a literal tape of Jim Jones talking, doing his little ceremony sort of thing, whilst these drinks are being passed out.
Wow.
And
we see it with the cults. We see it with the cults that we have today. I mean, look at the cult around Trump at the moment. It is a cult. There's no way of describing it except an absolute insane cult.
Yeah.
But what we've got to do is we've got to remember the people that are victims to this kind of coercion, rather than the person that perpetrated it.
When you see the documentaries about Jim Jones and Jonestown, the people they're talking to the most are the families of those victims. They're the ones that are getting like the sort of spotlight when those sort of documentaries are coming out. So and then their loved ones are being remembered in that way. That's all I can,
but
positive thing I can say about it.
Yeah, one of the
You
things
have to
that
know about a tragedy like that to try to prevent it happening again. That's a very similar sort of like. You say that, I say that, right? But it happens all the time. There was the Heaven's Gate cult, then there was Waco, then there was, and whatever is going to happen to the Trumplefucks, I hate to imagine how that's gonna all end.
Well, it not in a nice way. He said it will be a bloodbath if he loses, and it will be a bloodbath if he wins.
Yeah,
that people are going to die horribly.
But he called for it. He fucking called for it.
I know
already.
I know.
Yeah, but he's very soon going to be very broke. So it's going to be very interesting. Elon Musk is not going to save Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I think
head, Graham. It's not gonna happen.
I think the leader of Saudi Arabia.
No, he's not.
Putin. I mean, that $500 million is pocket change to these men, and they want the chaos. They hate America. They hate the West.
He has been begging all over for money, and no one's giving it to him.
I think it'll be a last-minute Hail Mary, 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
Monday, he's just going to miraculously show up with $500 million.
Yeah, I do.
I
think his billionaire tobacco, firearms, drug smugglers, drug dealers who back him.
Hold up, Scott's throwing up a bet here. Where are you going?
No, I'm not a gambling man. I never gamble unless I've rigged the machine. Questionable absanity. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry I came to that so late. Seriously, none of you know who Abigail Thorne is. Yes, Abigail Thorne, the YouTuber, Philosophy Tube. Abigail.
No, she plays Nocturne in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, and also my newest addition to the Private School Mafia.
Oh Jesus!
The 1046th.
Anyway, do you want me to recommend 2 interviews to watch, which are quite funny to watch this week? So the first one I have to recommend is the Don Lemon Elon Musk interview, because oh my god, Elon Musk cries like an absolute child at the end of that interview. Oh, it looked as if he was about to.
He was about to run away with his toys.
Two people I could not fucking think are further apart politically.
but he wanted Don Lemon to make Twitter seem like politically neutral, and then he sacked him.
Yeah, because he was doing his job as a journalist.
Immediately after doing this interview. Questions. What's the other one? What's the other one? Because I've seen that one. What's the other one?
So the other one has just come out today, and it is Destiny, who is a streamer, and he is having an interview with Jordan Peterson, and Destiny absolutely dismantles him.
I can't stand Peterson's
makes
voice.
Him look like an absolute conspiracy theorist when it comes to talking about COVID. Just completely dismantles him left, right, and centre.
How can anyone take a human being seriously when they sound like a Looney Tunes?
You mean a Muppet?
Yeah,
like the frog.
They sound like they're putting on a silly voice. Like, how is he a professor of anything? Do you know what I mean? Surely at some point people are like, I don't know, sorry, mate.
Well, he's not anymore. He's lost his license.
Now. Has he? Do you have a license to professor?
There is
a license to prof.
There's an absolute fucking hilarious interaction with Cenk Uygur and Rabbi, what's his chops, on Piers Morgan's show, and it is so car crash. Piers brings on the rabbi's daughter, who owns like a sex accessories toy thing, and he's like, "Oh, so what's your best product?" And I'm like, "Fucking hell, what is going on here?" What Rabbi? What's his chops? I fucking can't remember his name, but it is so bad. And they're talking about, obviously, Israel, Palestine, and all the rabbi does is uses ad hominems, talks about things that are completely away from the question he's been asked. And
yeah,
it's just fucking hilarious.
Talking of Israel Palestine, news tonight about Andrew Blinken and Biden basically saying we need a ceasefire, and that is, I mean, if Netanyahu decides to ignore that, I mean,
well,
Israel is on its way to becoming a global pariah.
They just had a vote in the UN today, as well, on a potential ceasefire motion, but Russia and China vetoed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it called for the release of the hostages, and there was another reason.
I don't get that. Why would China veto it and go, well, we don't want them to release the hostages?
Because
I mean, it doesn't make sense.
But what a ridiculous situation in which you have 5 permanent members.
It was Rabbi Shmuley.
Rabbi Shmuley. Well, I'll write that down. I'll check it out. What a ridiculous situation. When you have 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, each of which have a veto over the other 192 members. Whatever they want to do, they have a veto over 192 other sovereign states in the UN. And they are the US, who are not going to vote for anything that, curtails capitalism in any way. China, which is not going to, which is going to veto anything that, well, they're going to veto anything that doesn't go their way in terms of, I don't know, communism, I guess, if they still think they're communists. And then Russia. Yeah, they're just going to veto anything that, stops people being gangsters.
Yeah, you think Vlad's gonna fucking give a nod to that? Nah, you're all right.
Exactly, and that's a huge problem at the UN. I think the UN needs to be reformed. I think that you should have more votes in the UN based on your population, but also based on your level of democracy, transparency, freedom of the press, rights for minorities. The more of those you have, the more votes you get. Make it aspirational. At the moment, Nauru gets 1 vote. There's 12,000 people live in Nauru. You can fit them. You can fit them in a venue. Yeah, not even an arena.
I would agree to your analysis there, Graham. And I would say that when it comes to the UN, the power of veto should just be remitted from every country. Just like you ain't got a veto. If you want to be pure democracy, you ain't like just because you're a big boy, you don't get the power of fucking.
But Wayne, where is the incentive to do better for any country to do better? We have like I was saying, Nauru, this tiny little nation in the Pacific that made its fortune through bird shit. Now it's got nothing, and it's got a vote in the UN. It has the same exact number of votes as 1.3 billion, with a B, billion Indians.
Yeah.
How is that?
And that's why I say like the power of veto should not be laid with I think is it four nations that have the power of veto?
5 countries. And
five.
No, actually, it's anyone who's in the Security Council, I think, but that's revolving. The 5 permanent members are the UK, France, USA, China, and Russia.
Yeah, that permanency should be just revoked. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be a proper democracy, you're not going to stand there with your fucking big cock pissing on someone saying,
yeah, but Russia's not a proper democracy, as we just saw last week when Vladimir Putin
Good Friday night out.
What?
I don't know what Scott's doing.
Don't worry about that.
Scott's getting his albums out. But yeah, I mean, there is. I would like the UN to be aspirational, to be somewhere where, if at the moment you can be the leader of an oppressive country, an autocratic regime, and basically autocratic, and you can make your own rules and you can treat your own people like shit. And not only will you get your vote in the UN, the same as if you were democratic and nice, but also you, as the leader of that country, are given immunity from prosecution for any crimes that you commit by the UN.
Exactly.
Not necessarily by your own country, but by the UN.
Jogged on. I think, like you say, it's like fucking VAR in football. It needs to be reformed for the modern game, right? The UN back in the day was a good thing because it was post Second World War.
Yeah.
And now we're beyond that. We're so fucking far beyond that.
It's evolved, and it should be constantly evolving.
Yeah.
You know, move with the
100%.
times.
But it hasn't. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed in years. And the Russians took the Soviet Union
it needs
seat.
to evolve, I should
so
say.
thank the permanent seats. You know, Ukraine lost that. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan. They all lost that seat.
Yeah,
because it all went to Moscow.
Georgia.
Because Moscow is the center of everything that has happened in that region for centuries. And I think that people are just getting sick of it now. Of just like, why do we always have to do whatever Moscow wants to do? You imagine like London dictates what happens in the rest of this country and how much that gets up our nose. Imagine if London was in another country and still wanted to decide how we lived our lives.
I know how much like the rest of the country like fucking hates the southeast because everything is like culturally centered here, like financially centered here.
Yeah, not culturally, mate. There's no culture.
I was just going to object to that as well.
Yeah, in the southeast,
for that one.
if you leave a yogurt out on the windowsill for a few days, you get a culture. That's about it.
I'm going to have to jump in here. Something's just happened.
What?
Marjorie Taylor Greene might be about to just explode the house again.
She's just voted to move the speaker. Oh, remove the speaker. Thank you very much, Emma Price, for the super chat.
Dude,
kicking off in the USA.
Are you watching it live?
I saw that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene moved to remove speaker.
I saw that.
Are you watching it live?
Oh my God.
She's a disruptor. That's what she's there to do.
I
make laws.
can't believe she's done that.
She's not there to make laws. She's
really?
not there to do
you
it.
Can't believe it.
Good for people. Disrupt.
I'm waving because I'm existentially tired and I'm going to fuck up.
You guys,
I'm going to wrap up in a bit.
Super Tan.
Tan's fallen asleep, but
I've just had enough of these wankers. Like I've got two cats.
Us. Oh, you talk about your cat. Sorry, I thought you were talking about us.
No, the cat. Come on, let's see the kitty cats. They're so cute.
Like they woke me up this morning with like the most. Oh, don't look cute now, Fred.
Yeah.
Oh, Fred.
Tan, this is what they'll look like later. Hang on.
Yeah, that's a real blur. Oh no. Oh, that's just like cute. This looks just like Edie.
I know. He's not. Look, we woke him up. How dare we?
Right, the pair of them kept me awake most of the night last night, and then when I tried to have a morning coffee to deal with my tiredness, they stood in it.
Yeah.
So I'm tired, and I need to go to sleep now. I'm tired.
Oh, thanks, Tan. Well, we're wrapping up soon, but you got yourself.
Tanny, are you going to be in Liverpool tomorrow?
No.
I'm going to be in Liverpool tomorrow.
Tan, before you go,
Graham, I'm going to try and catch you and Femi.
Before I go, Wayne.
Before you go, I do have a cat that lives in Sweden.
Bloody hell, that's a bit of a trek to feed him.
She's no, it's a she. It's a she.
She to feed her.
And I'm allowed to say this. She's a long-haired coon.
Okay.
And she's called Bellamy.
They get real big.
Thanks, Wayne. We're definitely getting demonetized now.
We want pictures, Wayne.
You probably would have got away with the C-bomb.
You just smoke.
That's why I said it. That's why.
But the algorithm doesn't know it, Wayne. It's all right, Wayne. So
it came out of the brown man's face.
That's
was that the gardener? Actually, I was just doing a bit of a hoe.
I didn't even twig then.
Exactly. It's like what,
guys? It's after 11. Should we just wrap it up here because I need to get to bed? I've got to get up dead early tomorrow morning, get on the train to Liverpool. So
what's going on in Liverpool?
There's a National Rejoin March, which starts at St. George's Hall at 12 o'clock tomorrow. We're marching to the Pier Head, and then me and Femi and Madalena Kay, the EU Supergirl, we're going to be giving speeches, and then we're going to the pub afterwards.
Awesome.
Thomas Rigby's
you said Femi and I wrong.
Have a drink for me.
Me too.
I'll have a drink for you. I'll try, Graham. I'll try and grab you at St. George's.
Excellent. Grab me by the jaws.
I've got the new missus coming around tomorrow.
Hi, Tan.
Hi, Tanny. Lovely to meet you.
Right. Okay. Well, yes. So, sorry.
What?
Wayne's got a new missus.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Ha! Breaking news.
How dare you?
I need a breaking news animation. Right. I'm gonna wrap it up there. I just want to say thank you to all our wonderful guests, Ollie and Scott and Cozy and Wayne and John. Thank you. You're absolute legends. And you watching this, you're a legend as well. Thank you for all the chats and the super chats. Like I say, I'll be in Liverpool tomorrow. If you want to meet up, have a bit of a Labour social in real life, I'll be at the Pier Head from 2 o'clock. Well, actually, I'll be going in the March, so you can meet me at the St. George's Hall at 12 o'clock for the National Rejoin March. Because I know we're not going to rejoin for a while.
Trivium.
A few years. But we will eventually because, more of us want to rejoin the EU than want to stay out of it. And that's democracy for you. If you don't like it, go and live in North Korea. South Korea. The wrong Korea. Go and live in the wrong Korea. God damn it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.